I understood why she hated his guts, but at the same time, I'm not into Islamophobia in my books. Like, oh my god, I can't hear properly. Do you know when people are being like Islamophobic and they say that you can't hear properly through your hijab? I think it might be true. Hi, I'm back. Ramadan Mubarak! I hope all of your Ramadans are going really well. It's currently the last 10 nights, so inshallah all of your du'as get answered. I thought I would make a fun little video on Muslim romances. During this month, usually what I try to do is only read Islamic books and Muslim romances, because Islamic books, obviously, like, I'm trying to learn more. And then with Muslim books, I feel like that is like my replacement for like fantasy and other genres, because you know that it's gonna be, one, like there's not any smut or anything like that, and two, there's like usually really nice little Islamic reminders which I really enjoy. So I thought I'd talk you through literally every single Muslim romance I've ever read. I've read a lot. I mean, as a genre, there's not that many. I've read like most of the, I feel like I've read most of the Muslim romances, but if there's any that you recommend that I haven't mentioned in this video, please let me know, because I'm always looking for more Muslim romances. So anyway, I'm going to talk you through all of these. Romance, for me, I know that every genre, all books are like subjective, but like romance is the most subjective book genre for me, because literally, if I don't think that the male main character is cute, that'll be like, okay, now 2 stars. Do you know what I mean? It's always like such silly specific things that make you like really obsessed or not obsessed. Like, I get that some romances are genuinely like really poorly written, but all of the books I'm going to talk about today, I think, like, I finished them. I feel like I enjoyed every single one of them. I'm going to like mention all of them, what I thought of them, what you might like about them, and then I'll also mention like my all-time favourite Muslim romances as we go. A lot of them I've read like a while ago, so I won't remember a lot of like stuff about them, but I will remember enough to give you a vibe, you know? And let's start with the one that's like the most obvious one. Like, whenever anyone mentions a Muslim romance, they're gonna talk about this one. So let's get this one out of the way and then get into like more niche ones as we go. So, Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali is like the all-time, like, this is like the Muslim girl staple. Like, if you haven't read this one, and you've read some of the other ones on this list, that genuinely surprises me. So Love from A to Z, I read this, literally this was the first Muslim romance I've read, and I remember it, this holds such a special place in my heart because it was the first time I've ever seen myself represented. Bear in mind, this is still like a South Asian author, so like not that represented, but a Muslim girl, like a Muslim girl who actually enjoys practicing her religion. Like, it was beautiful, really well written, really wholesome. It follows these 2 characters who are on holiday in Qatar, I think, like Doha, and they meet on a plane. There's a really cute meet cute, and then they have like similar circles, so they keep seeing each other while they're on holiday, and it's just really, really wholesome. But one of the things I really enjoyed, other than the fact that the romance was genuinely really, really cute and very halal, there was a lot of like Muslim references in here, and like things that were so casually done. Like, she was on the plane and she's reading a dua off her phone, and then this lady next to her is like, what's she doing? Or she's looking for the qibla in like different places that she goes to because she needs to figure out which direction she's going to pray in, and like all of these things were just so casually like put into the book. And I remember when I read it, like, I felt so seen, and it was like literally the first time I've ever seen myself in anything before. So it was, yeah, super wholesome. I highly recommend it. It's like, it's a YA book, so they're like 17, I think. It's just really, really wholesome. And while we're talking about this, we may as well talk about The Eid Gift, which is the short story that follows this. And I read it and really enjoyed it. It's like a really short story, and I think it's once they're married. So at the end of this book, they get married, spoiler alert. And then The Eid Gift is like an Eid together. Like, they're like separate, but I don't remember what the story was. I just remember like squealing. Like, it was like, if you love this, then read that one straight after. And I know that there's a sequel to it, but I don't think I'm gonna read it. I forgot what the sequel was called, but I'm not into romance sequels, which I realise because I'm gonna get into her next book, which is Saints and Misfits, which actually was the first, I think this was the first book that she wrote, and it's very heavy. It's like, I think she has a crush in this book, but it's not a romance. It handles some really heavy topics. I think that the person who assaulted her is like a really respected member of the Muslim community, and when I first went into the book, I was like, ooh, like, how is she going to talk about that? Because it's such a sticky subject to talk about, but she handled it really well. Like, it's obviously a really big issue in the Muslim community, and the way she talks about it, like, one thing about S.K. Ali, her Muslim representation is always going to be really good. I don't think I love the romance in this. But again, it's not really a romance, it's like a really heavy YA, like handles really heavy topics. So the sequel to this is called Misfits in Love, and this was actually a romance. But the reason I didn't like this is because, again, like, I don't really love like sequels to like contemporary or romance books in general, because I'm like, okay, what is the reason? And I get why this one had a sequel, because she doesn't actually have a proper romance in this. She has a romance in this book, but it was a bit random, so I didn't love it, but again, I will read literally anything SK Ali writes because she is so good and so talented. Yeah, so that's why I'm not going to read, I don't know what the book is, the second book for Love from A to Z, but I'll put the cover up here. I know that some people have loved this, like read it and loved it, but I'm not, like personally, once a couple gets together, bye, what am I reading it for? Do you know what I mean? I know people who have loved this book, so. Another one that I'll touch on is a book called Salam with Love by Sarah Sharaf Baig. This was really, really cute, guys. It was very young. It was like middle grade. I think the main girl was like 12 or something, 13 maybe. Basically, she stays with her family during Ramadan, and she is someone who isn't very practicing, but like she's really young, and when she fasts, she just fasts and there's nothing else to it. Like basically back in the day when I used to fast, like she's very relatable 12, 13-year-old, and she's fasting, but she's like, I don't really like do anything else. I don't really get, like, she doesn't really feel any of the like spiritual benefits of Ramadan. And then she goes to her cousin's house and she stays there for the month. She really connects with the deen and like she's like learning Quran. It was really cute, really wholesome. If I was younger, I would have loved this, and I would definitely recommend this for kids. Like any of my nieces, nephews, or like little cousins, like this is one that I would tell them to read because it's really just really cute and like wholesome and such a nice digestible way to learn about the deen as well. Like there were certain things in the deen that were explained, like the religion, that were explained like really well in this, in a way that I wouldn't have even thought to break it down. The only thing I didn't like about it was the fact that there was like an Islamophobic attack, and that's, me personally, I'm not into Islamophobia in my books. Like I'm here for escapism, do you know what I mean? Like that's gonna come back in another book that I really enjoyed, but yeah, that's one thing that me personally I don't really like, so I'll just flag it just in case that is something off-putting for you as well. Okay, and then the next book I'll talk about is Courting Samira by Amal Awad, and this was again another one I enjoyed. It was set in Australia and it was Arab Australians. I don't remember what country she was from. And I enjoyed it for the fact that I think most of the Muslim books, like as you'll see through the ones that I recommend, most of the Muslim romances are South Asian, which is great, but there's not a lot of, I haven't read a lot of Arab Muslim romances or a lot of Black Muslim romances, but I will touch on some Black Muslim romances. I'll come back to that, don't you worry. I listened to the audiobook of this and I love an Australian accent, especially an ethnic Australian accent. Like white Australian accent, it's alright. An ethnic Australian accent will get me every single time, and the narrator for this was a, I assume, Arab Australian woman, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the audiobook for it. It was, I wouldn't really say it's a romance even though there's like a love triangle in it. It's, I would say it's like a messy drama. Like I thought it was really fun. I would say that it's not like on the SK Ali level of like really wholesome religious references and things like that. This felt more like a girl who's not that religious, but she tries, again, like quite a realistic representation of a Muslim girl struggling with like her faith, but not in a like, oh, I want to take my hijab off kind of way. So sorry, I get distracted because my window's right here and I can see my neighbours, and they're just like, what are they up to? What are those boxes? Someone's gone to Costco. Can you tell that I'm quite hungry? There's like 2 hours until I break my fast. Guys, I don't know about you guys, how are you finding Ramadan? Because I personally am so hungry. Like, alhamdulillah, we're now breaking our fast at 5:30 instead of like 7, 8, you know, how it was a few months ago. I struggle every single time. Like, am I the only one that gets hungry every single day? Like, my mum literally laughed at me today when I said I was hungry at like 1 p.m. But like, is there anyone else on my boat? Like, am I the only one who's struggling here? Like, I open my eyes, I'm hungry. Then it calms down after like 2 hours. Hungry again in like 3 hours. Anyway, let me know how your Ramadans are going, please. Give me details. Alright, back to the romance recommendations. So, another author who has genuinely become like an auto-buy author for me, I will literally read anything she writes, and that is Uzma Jalaluddin. So I'll start with the first romance I read from her, and we'll work our way up to my favourite. This was Aisha at Last. I think this is her most popular book. Yeah, this is her most popular book. Aisha at Last is inspired by Pride and Prejudice, and we're going to see a bit of a theme of like, us Muslim girls, we love a period piece, you know, Regency era, like no touching, like all of that courtship, like it's very Muslim, do you know what I mean? So I understand why there are so many retellings, like Muslim retellings of those. Anyway, so Aisha at Last, it was a Pride and Prejudice retelling. The guy, the main guy, the love interest was Mr. Darcy to a T. To a T. Like, this guy's, he's grumpy, he's grouchy, he's... All I remember is, I enjoyed it. Uzma Jalaluddin's writing is so good. Like, I will read anything she writes. But this was my first romance of hers, and I didn't love the love interest, and that's why I didn't like this book. Like, I wasn't into him. And I'll just leave it at that. So if you read the premise of it, if you like the sound of it, you should read it. The next book I'll talk about is another book by Uzma Jalaluddin, and that is, I'm working my way up to my favourite one, guys. Much Ado About Nada, and this might be a Shakespeare retelling because of the title, but I don't actually know This book was interesting from the beginning. I liked this more than Aisha at last. The chemistry was really good. One thing about Uzma, she knows how to write chemistry, and the chemistry between these two characters was good. All of her books are also set in Toronto as well, which I really enjoyed. In this like big Muslim convention, and I won't say what the situation is between the two characters because it's a spoiler, but there's something happens in this book that I was genuinely caught off guard for. Once you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I liked it. Didn't love it as much as I loved her other book, Hannah Khan Carries On. This is up there with like Love from A to Z for me. It was incredible. So it's a romance between two rival halal restaurant owners. Does that not sound so good? She looks after her dad's restaurant in this area that's now being bought up by big corporations, and they're trying to get in. So her love interest is the guy whose dad, him and his dad are like buying up property and like creating these chains and stuff. I don't really remember. Again, I read this like 3-4 years ago, but they buy this like massive restaurant, and now they're competing with her dad's small like business, and they can't stand each other. By the way, this is the first time I've read a rivals to lovers / enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting that actually works for me, because I feel like enemies to lovers in a contemporary setting just doesn't work. Are your kingdoms like killing each other? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, how can you be enemies in real life? Like, who in modern day has an enemy? Like, let's be completely for real. So these two like, I understood why she hated his guts, but at the same time, this was a You've Got Mail retelling, which I actually haven't watched that movie. She has a podcast, like an anonymous podcast, and he's a fan of her podcast. So they are like not pen pals, but like online friends. They develop this like emotional intimacy that's like really cute, but at the same time they hate each other in real life. The way that it works, like the enemies for like a lot of the book, because you're like, oh my gosh, like of course she hates his guts, like he's horrible, but then you know that he's also going through some stuff. Like all his behavior makes sense, as it always does. But this book was a banger. Like, I highly recommend this book. Another one I'll mention, I actually have 2 black Muslim romances in this. So 4 Eids and a Funeral was co-written by Farida Abike Iyamide and Abida Jai, guys, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but it was co-written by those 2 authors, and it's basically a story that follows, I think, a Bengali guy and a Nigerian girl, and who are both Muslim, and they were childhood best friends, but for some reason they're not friends anymore. So in present time, they've both like distanced themselves from each other, and something's happened and we don't really know what's going on, but we follow 4 Eids and a funeral. So a funeral is what gets them back in town because their hometown librarian dies, and that kind of brings them back together, and they have to like reconcile. But you're like, well, what actually happened? And you go back like 4 Eids, like 4 Eids and a Funeral, get it? To kind of figure out like actually what happened, and you piece it together. And I thought this was really fun. It was YA, it was a really enjoyable read. Okay, next book I'm going to recommend is technically, if we want to get technical about it, it is not a romance. It's a literary fiction, but the romance is genuinely one of the most beautiful love stories I've ever read, and that is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Couture. I think that's her name. I think she also has a book coming out this year, which is amazing because this book came out like a long time ago, so yeah, I can't wait to read her new book. But this book is basically following this Syrian girl. Well, they're all Syria, it's in Syria, like they're at war, civil war, and things that these characters go through are genuinely like traumatizing. So I would look up the trigger warnings because there's like, it's really gruesome and like hard, like it's devastating. And the way this author writes about certain topics, which I won't say because I don't want to spoil anything, is incredible. So I put this off for years because I knew that it was going to be heavier. I really do wish I didn't though, because it's a beautiful story. Like at its heart, it's like an incredible love story. Okay, my next recommendation is my first, guys, I'm so excited about this. It is my first ever Somali romance, ever. Complicated Codes by Idil Farah. I don't know if I made up Idil, to be honest. Like, maybe I just got I and thought, like, what other Somali name begins with I? Maybe it's not Idil Farah. I'm just going to say I Farah because I think that's how she refers to herself. Guys, it was so fun. This is self-published, so any of the issues I had with this book, if it had an editor, then they probably, like, it would have been fine. Other than like little editorial things, I ate this book up. This was so much fun. I read this literally like 2 weeks ago, so it's fresh in my mind, okay? This is going to be the one that I actually explain well, I hope. It follows 2 characters. This is actually the exact same trope as the Hannah Khan Carries On one, where they're online pen pals, but in real life they don't like each other. And by the way, this was just really, really wholesome. I think I really love this because of the fact that there's a Somali, like the first Somali book. They had like casually had Somali words in it, so I think that gets extra points for those reasons. So anyway, the main girl is online friends with this guy because it's called Complicated Codes, and it's a forum where people put their codes and ask people for help. So he always helps her with a code, they know who each other are, but they speak all the time, and you know, they're like friends. But then in real life, she gets hired by his company, and he's being horrible to her from the start because there's a mole in his company who's been leaking their strategy to a rival company. So he's like, I'm not trying to hire anyone. But then his dad comes in, and little does he know that her dad and his dad are like best friends, and he's like, oh my gosh, like, I haven't seen you since you were a baby, oh my gosh, of course you're hired. And then yeah, so she ends up working for his company, and he's being quite mean to her the whole time. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was like fun, like popcorn bingey, like it was just a fun wholesome read. And if you're Somali, like, you actually have to read this, like there's actually required reading. But even if you're not, like, it's such a wholesome, cute Muslim romance. So I read that book 2 weeks ago, read another book, and then I came back to her, and I'm now reading Beyond the Sidelines because it's really cute so far. I might even end up liking it more than Complicated Codes, potentially. The last one I'll talk about is the last book I finished, and that is If I Loved You Less by Amna Qureshi. I never realised that when I was reading this, I didn't realise that she's the same author of Baby Dragon Cafe, those books, and I literally have a proof of her third book. Like, I haven't read any of the Baby Dragon ones, which I will read the third one because I have a proof of it. Yeah, I didn't realise that they were the same person. This book is an Emma. As I told you, there's a bit of a theme here. This book is an Emma retelling. So let me just tell you what the plot is, even though it's basically Emma. The main girl she's Pakistani, by the way. There's a Pakistani-American romance. She's a rich girl who lives with her dad. Her dad's really rich, and he's very, like, concerned for her, and she looks after him. She's very spoiled, very bratty. She sets people up, all her friends and her sisters, like, she's all set them up, and like they're all married in happy relationships. And now she's got to the point where she's like, oh, now it's time to set myself up. Meanwhile, she takes this girl who she works with under her wing, and she's like, you know, like, listen to me, trust me, like, and she kind of like bulldozes this poor girl into like going for the guy that she tells her to go for, and da-da-da-da. So she's like not, again, just like Emma from Emma, she's not supposed to be a likeable female main character. And I'll tell you that now because a lot of people, I think, I looked at the reviews and a lot of people didn't like that. So if you're prepared for it, especially if you've already like read or watched Emma, then you'll know what you're getting into. And I knew what I was getting into, and I personally loved it. She's not like the worst female main character. In fact, I liked her because I was like, she's like delusional. She thinks very highly of herself. She's like, oh yeah, like, I look stunning right now. I don't see a problem with that. What's wrong with the girl having some confidence, you know? So she's like, but she's a bit bratty, you know, like, she's rich, she's like, oh, my designer stuff, like, oh, yeah. But yeah, she ends up trying to set herself up with this guy who she's like, I've heard he's perfect, he's got a British accent, he's rich, he's this, he's that, like, I'm gonna set myself up with him, we're gonna get married, the end. So whilst she's trying to like pursue that romance, there's a guy who is like a family friend, and his brother is married to her sister. That is the real romance, and they are like, that is like slowly bubbling behind the surface, and it's obviously obvious to everyone but her and him, of course, whilst she's like pursuing this other guy. So it's a love triangle. Nothing like happens between the two characters, but there is like a lot of tension, a lot of forced proximity. I loved it. I loved it a lot. So back to like the Emma thing, I feel like this book took a lot of risks. Like, the dialogue is literally written in like Old English, like the way they used to speak in the 1800s. So again, that was a risk. Making it Emma, like very, very Emma, to the point where like the love confession is like word for word Emma, that was a risk. But I will say, personally for me, it paid off. This for me is like up there with like Love from A to Z, Hannah Khan Carries On. Like, I loved, absolutely obsessed with this book. Like, I loved it. The chemistry, I think this was like, of all the books I've mentioned so far today, I would say the chemistry was the best in this one. It was so good, like genuinely so good. So those are literally every single Muslim romance I've read. And again, like, as I said, I enjoyed every single one of them. I will not talk about the one that I didn't enjoy because I'm not trying to backbite in Ramadan. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is the line when it comes to like talking about a book and how terrible it was? So I'm not going to talk about the book that I really did not like. Really go for whatever of the books I described based on your own taste, because again, like, romance is very subjective, and I like all those books for just such specific like me reasons. So if you're interested in any of those books, please read it. Like, I would recommend like literally all of those books. Please let me know if there's any Muslim romances I haven't mentioned that you recommend, or just in general, like Muslim romances that are on your TBR that I haven't mentioned, and let me know how your Ramadan is going. I hope it's going really well, and once again, may Allah grant you all of your du'as and make this the best Ramadan yet. I mean girl, I need it. And also let me know if you guys want like an Islamic books recommendation list. I don't have a huge amount, but there are some that I really, really love. Thank you so much for watching.